Hey,
see marathons this weekend.
College football playoff.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
The College Football Playoff Committee released their rankings last night. They have number 1, Tennessee, number 2, Ohio State, number 3, Georgia, number 4, Clemson, number 5, Michigan, number 6, Alabama, and number 7, TCU. I'll ask your thoughts, you two thoughts, and then I'm going to get into my thoughts.
You want to rescind anything when you said Tennessee shouldn't be 1 and somebody said they should? Or that they were going to be?
Did I say they shouldn't be 1? Did I say they shouldn't be 1? That was before they played Kentucky and they dominated the number 13 team.
Yeah, it is a weaker move.
Absolutely feel like they should be number 1.
That's fair.
All right, you?
My rant is the same thing you said on Twitter. I instantly reacted.
Oh, that's my rant right now.
Well, the Clemson TCU thing.
They're very inconsistent.
Yeah.
They're very, very inconsistent. Now, there are 2 inconsistencies here that I got to talk about. Number 1 is if you reward Clemson for their 3 ranked wins, which are not impressive wins, Syracuse, NC State, Wake Forest.
Yeah.
If you reward them for that and put them ahead of Michigan, that's fine. That's fine. I understand that. I personally think Michigan's a better team, but Michigan's non-conference was embarrassing. Michigan has only played 1 halfway decent team. That was Penn State. They
hadn't gone on the road yet. Really.
They haven't gone on the road yet. If you want to do that, fine. But how can you reward Clemson for their 3 ranked wins and not reward TCU for the exact same thing? TCU had 4 weeks in a row, or 3 weeks in a row when they were playing ranked teams, beat them. They're undefeated. They're at 7 and Clemson's at 4. What's the difference?
So are they TCU? Are they getting hindered by the way those wins are aging?
That's what the guy said. He said
mixed with, because on Clemson's side, NC State win was with Leary.
Yeah.
So that, like, to me, that's a much different win than beating NC State now. Like, that NC State team, I think, is legit top 15 with him at quarterback.
That's fine. And another inconsistency, and listen, fine. I personally think Michigan and Ohio State both belong in the top 4. I believe that. That's how I would have it. However, if you are the committee and you dock Michigan for their schedule and you say they haven't beaten anybody, how then is there a 3-space gap between Ohio State and Michigan? Because Ohio State ain't beating anybody either.
Oh, no one.
Well,
no. Hold on.
Notre Dame is starting to age much better.
They're a 500 team right now.
Well, they're 4-3, and they've beat the shit out of 2 top 25 teams in their rankings.
Fair enough.
Fake.
Even
what do you mean?
Ohio State has a better.
They smacked Syracuse at Syracuse, and they smacked UNC at UNC.
Ohio State has
like 17 and like 19.
UNC to me is legit. I think we're going to get
Syracuse is not
Syracuse
legit. I agree.
Down.
Which I've said that all year. I'm just saying
You're right.
They have them in their rankings.
Okay, but the problem is if you split hairs there and you say Ohio State has a better secondary win than Michigan, which is true, that doesn't explain why they're 2 and Michigan's 5. That would explain why Ohio State would be like 4 and Michigan's 5 or 2 and Michigan's 3. Why is there a 3-space gap between these?
The only other thing I would say is we've blown out like everybody. They've had a 7-point win against
Maryland.
Like we beat Iowa by 44. They beat them by like 13. So like if you look at some of the even common opponents, like we've shit pumped these teams. They've like beat them, but.
And you don't think that's inconsistent for the committee to put 3 layers of separation between those 2 teams and to reward Clemson for their wins and not TCU for their wins?
I'm just pointing out things that I saw that like makes that I could see why they think that way. No, I think Michigan's better than Clemson. I'm on a hand up. Like I think Michigan would beat Clemson, no doubt. But I'm just looking at things like why were they thinking like this?
Now Yes.
My point I was going to make very quickly was it's setting up. They're basically making a statement. If Clemson goes undefeated, it's going to be the Ohio State, Michigan winner, 2 SEC teams, and Clemson if Clemson's undefeated. That's what I felt like they made that statement.
That I agree with
night.
as well.
Did you see the
Hold on.
Did you see the little trick they're trying to pull with Bama?
Ranking Texas to give them a rank win,
and then putting LSU in the top 10.
Yeah, well,
yeah, that's
the LSU thing was because they crushed Ole Miss, and they didn't want to put Ole Miss in LSU because of how bad that game.
Ole Miss is
it feels like Sankey put in a call and is like, let's get Alabama some good wins.
Maybe, but we always think that. We always look too far into that. My thing is, I don't know that I would rule out. Right now, you said, say it again.
So Clemson, if they go undefeated, 2 of the 3 out of Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia, depending on how it breaks out, and the Ohio State, Michigan winner.
All right, problem with that is, and this isn't a problem because everything changes. Everything changes. At some point, we're going to have to account for a possible one-loss Pac-12 champion.
That's what I was just about to ask you. Like,
where? And I think a one-loss Pac-12 champion at that point could be sexier than a one-loss SEC Either they lost to Georgia this weekend or they lose the SEC championship. I don't know. Maybe.
What wiggle room? Let me ask you this: what wiggle room does? And I'm prepared for the answer of none. What wiggle room does TCU have to get a loss at any point this season? Not the conference championship.
Zero.
That you're putting it that low.
I'm not.
Okay. I was prepared for a 1% answer.
I'm not.
So I'm not really shocked.
I'm not sure this committee is 100% to put them in with no losses.
I think they showed. Yeah, I think they showed that with this.
I think they probably would because it's hard to ignore.
I asked that question. Who, if TCU runs the table and Clemson runs the table
Clemson gets
for the 4th spot? Yeah,
I think they made that statement last night.
Yeah.
I get that. Who do you think's played in a tougher conference? Who has more impressive wins? Take away what the committee said. You're on the committee. All of you are on the committee. Who is putting in that? That's where I kind of worry, and I think that they've made their minds up about a lot of this shit. You know, I say the same thing about Carolina. Carolina runs the table, and Notre Dame's wins get better.
Yeah.
You're prepared to put Clemson in at 12-0. You're not even considering Carolina. Carolina just won the conference. That was a gift to get into the playoff. They make up their minds a lot.
There's one other scenario I want to bring up super quick. Georgia's the one that's really at risk here because if Tennessee wins at Georgia and Georgia doesn't have that win over Bama, Georgia's not going to get into the SEC championship if they lose to Tennessee. And one loss Georgia without the SEC championship and losing this game, I think, is in big risk.
Well, I think the loser of this game's in a tough spot anyway because Tennessee.
You could say the same thing about Tennessee.
At least they got the Bama win.
Yeah,
I think if Tennessee wins this weekend, they're good.
The problem is if Tennessee wins this weekend, fine. But if Tennessee loses this weekend, and you think, oh, they got the best resume. Yeah, they got the best resume until Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then those are the two SEC teams.
That's what I was going to say. What happens there? So Tennessee loses to Georgia, and Bama beats Georgia, and then what?
I think Tennessee gets fucked.
Tennessee's fucked.
Tennessee.
Even though I think they would be one of the 4 best.
To your point, Ben, the loser of this game, I think, is kind of fucked either way.
I, that may be true, but Tennessee will at least still have a shot with one loss in the Bama win. I think Georgia's
12-team playoff, 12-team playoff, 12-team playoff, because we are saying all this and absolutely ignoring the fact that the Pac-12 has 3 teams right
really
now
good teams,
who could finish with one loss. Obviously, only one of them's going to do it, but there's 3 teams who, if they survive that, USC, Oregon, UCLA. One of those teams is probably going to have one loss with some good-ass wins.
I don't understand how you don't if Oregon wins out and their one loss is Georgia first game. I don't.
While Bo Nix who's looked phenomenal, was getting used to an offense.
First game of Bo Nix, first game of a head coach in Atlanta.
Yeah,
and
it's a national champion,
#1 fucking team. It's not like I think that'd be crazy if they were.
I would absolutely. I'd sign up for Oregon Georgia Part 2. I would.
1000%.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a little bit better, but yeah,
I think it'd be a lot better.
Well, so answer that question. Who do you think is in a tougher conference and have more impressive wins? TCU or Clemson if they both go undefeated?
I think TCU.
I think the depth of the Big 12 every week's tough.
Nobody else is noticing that.
Things have
no one else is
broken.
noticing that.
They got a lot of credit for beating some ranked teams that aren't really like they beat Kansas, big win for them. But Kansas is probably going to go 5-7 or 6.
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma, everybody says everybody says the Big 12 is tough.
Good break.
Everybody says the Big 12 is tough. It might just be mediocre, and there might just not be a team that has risen up because
that's what I've been feeling more and more.
You're saying there's a lot of okay.
They're all the same team.
Yeah. They're all decent.
But
they're all
on the
West
flip side, there's a lot of bad teams in that ACC. Virginia Tech, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Duke,
Miami
is turning into being bad. There's got to be another team I'm forgetting.
There's plenty.
Did you say Boston College?
No, I didn't say Boston.
Because they're all first.
They're all supposed to be
they were supposed to be good, yeah.
If you're going to say everything is mediocre, then that means the average test scores of the Big 12 are a lot higher.
I'm going to be honest. All right, we also look forward, right? I just don't think we're going to have to worry about undefeated TCU at all. I don't think we're going to have to worry about one loss.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's why I only spent a minute on it. I totally get it.
Because they play at Texas and at Baylor, and they ain't winning either of those games.
Yeah, it's just more. It's fun to talk about now, but we're going to get very clear cut things.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this playoff,
the way to break it down is the pockets.
Ohio State, Michigan play. Tennessee, Georgia play. And
2 teams in the Big 10, 3 teams in the SEC, 3 in the Pac-12, 4 now.
Yeah.
1 in the Big 12, and that's how you break up the pockets. And then it all sorts itself out.
But it's for sure whoever loses this week at Tennessee, Georgia is out.
No, that's not for sure.
So.
Definitely not for sure.
Well, I know not for sure, but I'm telling you.
Because Alabama's
going to win out. I'm telling they're just going to.
If they don't, though, it's not for sure.
Well, what percentage?
No, I'm not. I didn't mean.
LSU can beat Alabama. Or where are we putting that? 5%, 2%?
The line tells me Alabama's about to smack them.
Yeah.
I think Alabama's going to – this is when everyone counts out Alabama. This is exactly, oh, wow, we're finally going to get one. Nope, they're going to win out.
I said it last year, or said it yesterday. One loss Alabama is when they take their final form or where they just become deadly. They get desperate and they just don't lose again.
The one thing on Bama this year, or a couple things, but you mentioned all the skill guys last year. The tough road schedule, though. This is the toughest one they've had. At Texas, at Tennessee, at LSU, at Ole Miss, and SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Like, they're more vulnerable on the road. They never lose at home, but, like, we've seen them be a little vulnerable on the road the last couple of years.
I want to say we did forget yesterday Tennessee won at LSU. We were talking about
that's true, too.
best road. Like we were saying, they won a lot of their best games at home.
Yeah,
But
and destroyed them, too.
I destroyed them as well. So that's why. But I still think I don't know. I think you have to take Georgia this weekend. Have to.
Why?
I think 8.5 is a wild line. Just gambling wise, I think how that's just disrespect to the number one team. 8.5 points at when they're rolling right now, and Georgia hasn't been. Has Georgia been that crazy of impressive?
Georgia, well, they kind of have. Georgia
They've done both.
Georgia has no middle ground at all. They either look bad against Kent State and Missouri, or they look absolutely one of the greatest teams ever. They have no game where they won by like 16.
Almost shows you they play like to their opponent.
They've also played the shittiest teams in the SEC East. They played South Carolina, Missouri, Vanderbilt already,
and Auburn, who's horrible.
Those two games. That's why I think they're 3, and Ohio State was 2. I know people were getting mad about that. I think that has to be their
that I don't care. I don't care about Georgia being 3 because Michigan being 5 doesn't matter either.
Yeah,
their season's ahead of them. They have a 1-game season.
To get broken up about playoff rankings the first week is, especially when one plays, makes no sense.
Dude's just shirtless.
His body makes zero sense.
When was the last time Georgia lost to Tennessee?
In
a minute. I remember they had that crazy ass ending a few years ago, but
that was it.
Yeah, that was it.
2016.
Okay, I'm just saying there's similarities in this Tennessee Georgia game to LSU at Bama in 19 when LSU hadn't beaten Bama in forever, the Burrow year, and Bama was a 7-point favorite in that game, and it was almost this exact same weekend. Tennessee's on the road at Georgia. There's a similar. I don't know. I'm seeing.
I buy that more so in the team of destiny type thing. I'm not saying Tennessee's a team of destiny, but they're sure as fuck giving out those vibes. Sometimes you can get behind a team like that. They just get every break.
Yeah,
now Georgia is a big speed bump.
Team of destiny can run out of juice when you play the best defense in the country at their place.
I could still lose by less than 8 and be fine.
8's crazy. Eight's wild.
As a gambler, you don't see that. Like, wouldn't you be like that is a rat line of the number one team getting 8 points?
No, because I think it's an overachieving team, number one team, and Tennessee will say that. There's no way Tennessee at this point in the season.
First of all, Tennessee does not say that.
Okay.
Tennessee believes this has been overdue, and we all have to bow down because they will not say that. Them motherfuckers crazy.
They are crazy.
I've been dealing with that all week. I love getting into it with the fan base.
Yeah, you're in.
Tennessee's probably the best. I mean, they're
and the worst. Yeah.
But it's so much fun when they're good.
Not really. It's no different when they're good than anybody else is good. I don't know why people say that. Like if USC wins the national title next year, that'll be fun. If Miami gets good again, that'll be fun. Like it's all.
It would be great if they were all good together.
Everybody was good.
If we just had a fucking no, the big dogs. Like let's say that 1 to 12 right now is. The powerhouses of the powerhouses.
USC, Texas,
throw
Alabama.
Notre Dame
Michigan.
back in there. Throw USC, Oklahoma, Tennessee. Yeah, like throw them all in.
Yeah.
You know?
I would throw Miami in that group.
Miami.
Would you put Nebraska in that group?
See, I'm so young that I know the history of Nebraska, and I know the 30 for 30 of Nebraska playing Miami, and that being like a really good game, championship game. But for me, Nebraska was never really good in my lifetime. They had that one championship when I was like 12.
They beat that game when they murdered Florida in that title game was one of the most dominant.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat them like 62-24, if I remember right.
Exactly the score, yep.
All right, there you go. I just
Tommy,
remember
Tommy
Frey. Oh, dude, it was one of the bloodiest title games I can ever remember.
And then the next one was the second bloodiest. Remember when Florida beat Florida State?
Yeah, and that was when Florida lost to Florida State. They lost to them in the last game of the season. It feels like the revenge games, like that's been a thing. LSU, Bama, and Bama, Georgia, both, the first winner lost when they played in the title game too.
This is technically a 1 versus 2 game this Saturday, even though it's also a 1 versus 3 in the playoffs. We have so many rankings, it's 1 versus whatever. But it's 1 versus 2 in the AP poll because Tennessee is tied with Ohio State at number 2, and Georgia's number 1. but Tennessee's number 1 in the playoff and Georgia's number 3. Yeah, you'll go cross-eyed thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't like though. That's way too
many. Too many. And I don't know what it is in the coaches poll. I guess I don't know who's. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
What? Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee, if they win at Georgia, they're like literally in. They could like almost lose game.
I think they could lose the SEC title game and definitely be in.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to wins at Georgia, wins at Georgia, at LSU and Bama. Like
they would be holding. They would be holding what Georgia held last year. They lose that SEC game, and they pretty much knew they were still good.
Yeah, that's where they would be.
I almost wonder, like, I know you want to go undefeated and everything.
Oh, you want to win this game, Rico?
No.
It's not about losing the SEC title game.
Because you want Bama out.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
but halfway through that championship game, or the SEC championship game, I'm talking about, if you were down 17 and it's not your day, like you figure out it's not your day, do you just say, all right, hey, we're going for the gear up for the rematch? Guys aren't tooled like that. I get it.
I got to say one thing, because we are giving one team a little bit too much credit and putting them a little too far ahead. Alabama's still got work to do to get to the SEC championship.
Sure.
Game. And listen, you guys are trash, but you only have one loss, and you have them at home.
We catch them in the best spot ever because Ole Miss has a bye this week, and Bama's got to go to LSU, and Lane's going to be sitting there. 2 years ago in Oxford, fought them. I mean, it sets up well.
Yeah, you could beat Alabama then lose to Arkansas.
I could see that as well. I think that's very in play.
So I think right now is probably will be the hardest time to pick your playoff right now.
Right.
So what's your playoff? Because after this, it's kind of easy.
I think it's Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson. My gut says Tennessee, but my mind says Pac-12 champion is going to be a lot more in play than people are acting like, and I think it's between Tennessee and Pac-12 champion.
So
I'm gonna say it's USC for sake of this argument.
Let me
say this: if it's USC, they got to stand a lot better chance to make it in case, like if it was USC, they're getting in. If it's Oregon, they might not.
UCLA is
really
the one
think so?
the UCLA is the one that's I think if they have one loss.
I think I think
it.
Oregon has been the most impressive.
Not worried about impressive. Name matters, and we can't pretend like name doesn't matter. USC being in there would be a bigger story for this committee.
But isn't Oregon one of the most winning programs in the last 10, 15
They don't
years?
have
but USC still.
They don't have the cachet of USC. They just don't.
Granted, but they're not some fucking rinky.
They're not. I'm just saying. But they're not USC. That's all. They're not USC.
I just don't think they would give him a total screw job, if that makes sense.
If they're choosing between Tennessee and USC, I think they would choose USC. If they're choosing between Tennessee and Oregon, they choose Tennessee.
I think they would choose Tennessee personally.